Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adulting 101. I am Jesse from the SASS team. Now, I can see people are slowly popping in. So what we might do is we might give it a couple of minutes just for everyone to jump on. Get yourself comfortable. If you want to also bring up the chat box and the Q&A box, so you have that handy for you. We will be using those throughout the session. So feel free to bring those up. Any questions that you might have while we go through this session, by all means, feel free to pop them in the Q&A box. And at the end, when we have our Q&A session, we'll run through and answer any of those questions. There'll also be a chance for you to jump on and answer or pop some of your responses into the chat box while we're doing this session. So feel free to jump on there as well. Now, you can send messages either directly to all the hosts and panelists, which will then be anonymous to everyone else, or if you want to put your responses and questions out to everyone so everyone can see it, you're more than welcome to send it through to the everyone selection. So what we might do is we might kick it off. So firstly, welcome to Adulting 101, Time Management. Before I start, I would like to do an acknowledgement of country. So the University of Melbourne acknowledges the traditional owners of the land on which our campuses are situated. We pay our respects to their elders, both past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Australians who have made a contribution to the life of the university community. Now, for those of you who are new to this session, welcome to Adulting 101. It's a series of 5 small workshop styles where we go through and provide some support and some information on areas that students have identified they would like some further resources on. So we have already done 2. One was on stress management and one was on budgeting. You can jump on to our YouTube channel and catch up on those. Otherwise, I will email them around after. Also, the one we're running now is time management. So we'll be looking into time management. We have an amazing guest speaker with us today who will also go into some details. And then next week, we will look at meals on a budget and then communication. So if you haven't already, jump onto your student app and make sure you register for those sessions. So diving into time management. What is time management for a university student? So I want to give you a couple of minutes, jump into the chat box and just give me what your interpretation is of time management. So when someone walks up to you and says time management, what does that mean to you? So I'll give you a couple of minutes to pop those answers in. Perfect. So some of the responses we've got coming in are about being prepared for classes. Yes, absolutely. Time management will be ensuring that you're prepared, ready to start your class and having all your resources, your books, your equipment available. Yes, the next one, juggling commitments and study load. Again, if you've worked on your time management, it'll help you when you're managing multiple priorities. So your studies, when you're managing personal life, when you're trying to organize time for work, when you're organizing time just to have a break from everything. That's also time management. Ensuring I have enough time to complete assignments. Yes, definitely time management. So as you would know, you'll get assignments from multiple subjects. They might be on the same competing deadline, or they might be due within a couple of days or a week or so of each other. So making sure that you've got time management on top of that and being prepared for those will help you ensure that you get good marks and you're not putting extra stress on yourself, or you're not struggling to stay on top of your demands. So definitely making sure you do that. Awesome. So what I will do is I will jump over to the next one. So we've had a look at we've had to think about what time management is as a university student. Now let's have a look at why time management is important. So some of the examples that you sent through, why are they important to have time management then? So again, using the chat box, just pop in a couple of your responses that you can send directly through. Why is it important for you to have time management? Amazing. Yep. So making sure that I can get good grades. So having time management to manage your studies and manage your assignments will obviously help you ensure that you can get better grades, or at least give yourself the best possible chance of receiving better grades. Yeah, ensuring that I don't miss a deadline. Again, I'm assuming is with regards to assignments. So if you've got time management sorted, you can always ensure that you're on top of when your assignments are due. That can also extend to personal life. So having time management, you can make sure that you're ready for special events. So a birthday party, if you might have an anniversary coming up, if you might have a work commitment, having time management will ensure that you're able to have all your priorities completed and be able to attend these and not sacrifice personal time with your friends or your family or work. So definitely making sure that you focus on that. What's some other reasons why time management is important? Yes, stress. It helps reduce stress. Absolutely. So if you're organized and you've got time management sorted and you're on top of your commitments, you will find that you're a lot less stressed than if you're trying to run around and compete with deadlines, if you're unorganized because you haven't given enough time to a certain task, or if you haven't left enough time for simple things like traveling to and from work or to and from class. Definitely making sure that you can alleviate some of those pressures by organizing your time and having good time management processes in place. So definitely a great thing. So look, we've had a brief sort of chat about what is time management, and we've had a brief sort of chat about why is time management important. This is just to get your brain thinking, get you into that zone to look into time management. And as I was saying earlier, we have a guest speaker with us who is going to give us some valuable information or strategies with time management and dive into it a little bit deeper. Especially as a university student, you would know that it is a very stressful time and there are a lot of competing demands. So being able to handle those demands and being able to stay on top of that will obviously help you throughout your studies. So what I might do is I might go over and invite Steve to jump on screen with us. Steve is the learning strategist in the academic skills team. So Steve, if you're with us, we'd love if you can jump on.
Yes, I am. If you could activate my video. I'll start video. I'll do it myself. Great. Thanks, Jesse. Hi, everybody. Good to see a few people in the room. Really good questions from Jesse to you all. And I really liked how people were quite forthcoming about the importance of time management and what it means to you as university students. It's crucial. It really is. It's one of the central skills you need to have. And if you have it, it's so important because other things tend to fall into place, okay? And the way I talk about time management is it's about giving you a sense of control over your time. That's the crucial thing, okay? And what often leads to anxiety for a lot of us, a lot of people, whether it's in university or professional life, is the feeling of a lack of control. Okay, and that often is very much connected to the control of the time you have and the tasks you're doing, and feeling like they're not being managed well by you and you're not in control of them. Okay, and a couple of you mentioned things like, why is it important? It's for getting good grades and for making sure we have our assignments in on time. So if I can slightly shift your thinking back a little bit, if we can get control over our time, better control over our time with some of the tools I'm going to present to you today, then it does tend to reduce our stress and anxiety, okay? If our stress and anxiety are reduced, we're then in a better place physically and mentally to get our assignments done and in on time, and therefore get the good grades we want, okay? So the good grades we want are an outcome of the processes we're trying to put in place. And if we can get our assignments in on time, it's probably because we have got good processes in place and we're using good tools. So I just wanted to sort of deconstruct those ideas a little bit before we go into a couple of things that I want to be able to present to you. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen with you all. Okay, so essentially we need to think about what our week looks like. okay, and what the demands on our time are. And now essentially as students, we've got two sets of expectations or demands on our time. We've got our curricular expectations, so the things that are within our academic scope of our program, and we have extracurricular expectations which are outside academic scope. I'm going to be concentrating on within academic scope because that's what I specialize in, but we'll talk about a little bit about the other as well. So if you can, Jesse, I don't know if I can see these. The chat seems to have disappeared for me, so perhaps you can tell me some of the answers. Is how much is a full-time study load? Just in terms of hours per week, what do you think is the full-time study load? If you could pop some answers in chat. And again, Jesse, I have lost sight of chat, so I can't see. If you could tell me what students are putting in.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's come back. It's
you got it?
Back. Yes. Brianna, 40 hours a week. Oh, she's first up, nailed it. Yes, thanks, Brianna. It's about 40 hours a week. It's like a full-time job, Benjamin. I like it. That's a good view. And you know what? I'm glad you said that, Benjamin, because one piece of advice I give to students is when you're at university, imagine that you being a student is your job. That's your job. Okay, so for the length of the degree program or whatever program you're doing, if it's undergraduate or postgraduate, for the length of the program, you are a professional student. And that's how you got to see yourself. So I'm really glad you said that, Benjamin. And Brianna, you're right. It's about 40 hours a week. Great. Okay. And of course, this will vary with your load, but if we're talking about a full-time study load, and that consists of weekly classes. And within that, within our weekly classes, we have to do things like reading, required reading. We have to prepare, we're going to be taking notes either pre or post class, okay? And perhaps sometimes meeting with things like study groups, which is down the bottom, the group meetings, things like that. We also have assignments and general activities and tasks to do, which will be things like research, writing, editing and proofreading. So they've got to be factored into your time. And things like exam prep, revision, stuff like that. And group work, whether it's formalized group work for things like group meetings and set group assignments, or more informally, things like study groups. So if you haven't formed one or become a part of a study group already, I recommend you do that because it's a fantastic way to not study alone. It's to study with someone else or a couple of other people to form a small group. And it's not necessarily to do assignments together, it's to talk about your academic program. So you might revise your tutorial together. You might practice an oral presentation with each other. You might discuss a reading. Yeah. You might even discuss an assignment. You've just got to be careful about collusion, not doing the thing together, unless it's group work, of course. But if it's an individual one, not colluding, but you can certainly talk about assignments, what type of good resources are available, what the assignment question means, etc. So that idea of a study group or a study pal, study partner, is a really, really good one. It's a very effective study strategy. Just again, popping your answers in chat. Is anybody already a member of a study group or a study circle? And if you are, pop in the chat how many are in your group. I'd really love to know. Not getting any answers yet, so I'm guessing that's a blanket, probably a no. Not this semester, Brianna, but last semester formed a study group with one other student. Brianna, again, you can pop it in chat. I don't know if they can unmute themselves, JJ, can they?
I will quickly make it available for them to chat.
Brianna, you're more than welcome to pop on and tell us how was that? How did it go with your study group?
I've also had another one, Steve, just come through. Sorry, Brianna.
No worries.
That someone just sent it directly saying that they got involved in the GSA Study Buddies, which was like a study group as well.
Okay, great. Brianna, go.
Yeah, so I was in a study group last semester with one other student, and we technically had one other person who sort of just came as they could. So maybe every few weeks, but it was really good to compare notes. We had a practice quiz every single week. And so we would go through that together and talk about our answers. And we could usually fill in gaps of knowledge between each other, which was really great.
Yeah,
So,
that's one of the big benefits of it is, you know, complementary knowledge. So things that you don't know, your study partner might know, and vice versa. It's great. And the act of explaining a concept to somebody is a good way of clarifying the knowledge for yourself. So I think that sort of stuff is a really, really good idea. Okay, thanks for sharing. All right, then we've got our extracurricular outside. Now, we can have work, obviously, outside of university. People need to earn money. Just be aware of how much you are undertaking. And your first priority is your academic program. And you know, I'm not being naive. We do need money to facilitate, you know, our ability to live, you know, shopping and whatnot, and going out and having money for that. So, but just be aware of how much time you are doing as compared to your academic program. If you're getting above 15 hours, you'll need to keep an eye on that if you're in a full-time study program. Okay. That's about as much as we recommend. Okay, you've got your membership of uni clubs, societies, things like that. And of course, there's a social life outside of university. So there's competing demands. Now we have to think of how we manage this, okay? So my first tip to you is to try to manage your week. Set up it can be a Microsoft Word chart, or it could be a Google Doc, or it could be an Excel spreadsheet, but you just want a Monday to Sunday grid, okay? And what you first of all do is think about and put in your classes. And I've just put in a sort of a sample set of classes. Yours will probably look different to this, but it's a typically looking one where you've got some days free and some hours free, okay? So the tip is schedule some study sessions as formally as you do your classes. So people often stop here. They put their classes into their program and that's it. That's what their weekly schedule looks like. So my first recommendation is after each class, put in a break period of at least 15 minutes. Okay, so after you've finished your tute or your lecture, schedule at least a 15-minute break. And then think to yourself, where can I put in study sessions? And my advice is to schedule these formally, as your classes are also formally scheduled. And what we're doing is we are putting in a range of study sessions, which, if you look at the brown shaded boxes, they are about 1 to 2 hours long. So I'm recommending you put in a lot of 1 to 2 hour intensive study sessions, rather than trying to do marathon 6 to 7 hour or 3 to 4 hour study sessions. Do shorter study sessions, but more of them. So they're intensive, they're limited to 1 to 2 hours, then you have a break. So if you look at something like, let's say your Saturday, for example, and it might be more than this, but or even better, perhaps the Friday, okay, where we have a short study session, a break, a study session, a break, a study session, a break, and a study session. We can fit in, say, 6 hours on that day, all right? Or it could look more like a Sunday where you do a couple of study sessions, or the Saturday where you do a couple of study sessions, and your break time can vary. Okay, so it might be study, short break, study, longer break, and in the summer you might go to the beach if we ever get out of lockdown, and then do a study session, and then come back, have a shower, have dinner, then do one more study session. So you can have a day where you have, you know, 6 to 7 hours of study, but you also have 5 to 6 hours of break time. Okay, and we tend to be more productive in these shorter intensive sessions, because the longer ones, we tend to get distracted, we tend to get tired, we tend to get grumpy, okay? We tend to go off and do different things. So if you want to maximize your study time, make them 1 to 2 hour shorter sessions, and lots of them during the week, okay? Your breaks need to be a minimum of 15 minutes, all right? But they can be as long as you like, as long as you're scheduling your study sessions in, okay? We'll have time for some Q&A at the end. So if you've got any questions, make notes of them, and we'll give you some time to discuss these at the end, okay? All right, so within your study sessions, I want you to set SMART goals, okay? Where they are, S stands for specific, means I know what I'm going to do. and you just might have something very specific or focused in mind. For example, I'm going to the library database, my database in my subject. I'm going to search for a number of articles, all right? It's measurable, okay? So for example, I'm going to find 5 journal articles which I can use in my next paper. Now, if you can attach some sort of number to it, it becomes quantifiable, it becomes measurable. So things like, I'll find 5 articles. I will try to read 20 pages of the textbook. I will try to write 200 words of my next report. Okay, so try to attach a number with it so your goals become measurable and that therefore you become accountable for what you're doing. It's attainable, which means you actually can do it. So there are 2 elements here to attainability. One is that in this example, you know how to use the database, all right? And 2, if your study session is 1 hour, you can actually find 5 articles in that time, all right? If it's 1 hour and your measurable target is to find 20 articles, you're not going to do that. Or if it's 1 hour and your target is to write 1,000 words, you're probably not going to do that, okay? So set attainable targets in terms of knowing that you can do that thing and you are able to do it within the time you've set. Relevant means you should be doing it. So the task is relevant to what I'm doing because I've got an assignment coming up, and it's time bound. And again, people might have different views on how long this should be, but my view is that 1 to 2 hours is a good stretch of time to be achievable and doable in terms of you can get stuff done within 1 hour and 2 hours. It's not too short, it's not too long, before having a break, okay? All right, so we've got the big thing around the SMART goals for me is measurability. So that within the time we have attainable, measurable targets, okay? Now, something I mentioned in just before in this example is that databases. Is everybody familiar with the databases you should be using to do your research? In chat, if anyone's not familiar with what I'm talking about, I want you to put a no. And I can quickly talk you through that if we need to. Or equally, we could come up to it in Q&A at the end if we want to. Benjamin, no. Okay, great. So Benjamin, on the library website, there is, on the front page of the library website, there is a part called Subject Research Guides. Okay, and perhaps in the Q&A, I'll show it to you if you want me to. Subject Research Guides, and in that, you can search by study area. So let's say you're studying architecture. You can go to the design architecture section, and then it lists all the architecture subjects or design subjects in ABP. You pick yours, you go into the subject, and it'll have a set of tabs, one of which is databases. Okay, so I can show that to you during the Q&A, okay? All right. So the next thing we do is we need to think, we've thought about our week, we've thought about the study sessions within our week, and that's going to give us the time and the processes to be able to structure up our week. So let me backpedal a bit, something I forgot to mention earlier. We think about our time management on 3 levels: short term, medium term, long term. Short term is the day. And I don't talk too much about the day because often day organization is very, very idiosyncratic. People have things like to-do lists, or they have things like Google Calendar where they list their tasks, or even things like yellow sticky notes, which they put on their desktop. The week is something I've taken you through already. So the week will be your weekly schedule in which we put our classes, our break times, our study sessions. Okay, now let's look at the long term, which is going on the semester level. And what we need to do is get ourselves a semester planner. Okay, has anybody, and again, pop it in chat if you want, has anybody got a semester planner, or they've seen somebody who has one of these university semester planners? I'd love to know if anyone's got one, because yes, Brianna, great. I'd love to hear again, if we're still on unmute, we have, great. I'd love to know how you use it, Brianna or Benjamin, if you want to again unmute yourself and just talk about it for a second.
Yeah, I find the semester planner extremely helpful.
Great.
At the start of the semester, I put in all of my assignment dates or
Yep.
the estimated dates
Yep.
as provided by my subject coordinators, and I actually plan ahead for them using that semester planner. So I can kind of backtrack a little bit and say, oh, I have 3 assignments due in the one week, so I'm going to have to prepare for them in advance at different times. And I can also put in like other social events or family commitments. And so I can get a really good idea of how packed a week or a month is, and then plan for that ahead of time.
Excellent. And it's up on your wall?
Yes, definitely.
Great. I'm really happy to hear that. Benjamin, how about you?
Yep. So it's currently up on my wall as well. Same as Brianna, I do put all my assignments due, and additional to that, I also like highlight couple of days to show that just to allocate time to do the assignment, and gives me like a little warning that it's due almost. Yep.
Yeah, nice. Good one. Okay, great. Now, for those of you who haven't got one, again, this is lockdown dependent, of course, but you can get a physical one at any library or Stop One. Or, if you want to grab one now electronically, it's not the same as the print one, obviously, but we do have one at that link, which JJ will, beg your pardon, Jesse will send, it's got JJ on your name tile here, Jesse. Jesse will send the slides out to everybody and make them available. You can grab the URL then, or you can go to our website and just go to our resources page and find a link to the time management section there, which I think I have a slide about a little bit later on, but again, I'll talk to you about that as we come to it. All right, let's go. How do we use this thing? Now, as Brianna and Benjamin said, what we need to do is to put our assignments in. Okay, now what I recommend you do is you start with the submission dates and put them in. And this is just an example using 4 different assignments. And then we plug in some of the details around them. Let's say the first one is a short discussion post or something, 350 words, or a short reflective piece. The second one looks like an essay. The third one looks like a shorter report. And the fourth one looks like a major assignment. Okay, so what we do is, looking at the amount of words we have to write and the percentage value, we assign a bit of value to each one. Because assignment 1 in the red is due on the 10th, and it's due before assignment 2, which is due on the 15th, but assignment 2 is bigger. It's appreciably bigger, 6 or 7 times bigger, and it's worth 5 times as much, right? So what we need to do is be strategic about how much time we allocate to each task and when we start each task. So what we have here is we're starting task 2, the bigger task, before task 1, and we're starting task 4, which is bigger than 3, before 3. So our order is 2, 1, 4, 3 in terms of starting. Okay, now the length of time you think you're going to need for each one, you can estimate that. The shorter the task, the less time you're going to need for it. So a 350 word to 500 word task, you might only need a matter of days or even a week to get that done. Whereas something in the thousands of words, 1, 2, or 3,000, is going to need 1, 2, or 3, or even 4 weeks to get done. So it's going to need longer time. Now that length of time might be an estimate, but at least it gives you a feeling of how much time you might need to get that done. So you can put the submission date, then work backwards and color in that section that you think you're going to need, and then put a start date. Now, the other thing, as Brianna said, you can put in things like part-time job into this, when you're going to be working. You might put in things like club meetings or family functions or things like that. My only advice here would be not to make this too busy. I wouldn't use this for everything that you've got going, because the primary use of this for me, the primary use for this is as an assessment recording tool, so that you know when your assessments are due, how long each one will approximately take you, and when you need to start, and a reminder of the value and length of each task. So if you use it as a regular calendar, which you're more than welcome to do, if you do that, just put the really key things on this, okay? Don't be using it for everything, because it's going to get too busy and you'll lose sight of the key things, which again is your assessments, okay? So, and the other thing you can do is color code them. So one subject is one color, another subject is another color, okay? Don't forget, we'll have some Q&A at the end, so if you've got any questions about any of this, I'll take you through it and we'll answer again. So we've talked a little bit about the day, we've talked more about the week and setting study sessions and measurable targets within the sessions. We've talked about the semester. One of the other things which causes anxiety and stress is managing your reading, okay? So, depending on what you're studying, you are going to have some sort of reading load. Some subjects it's bigger and other subjects is not as big, but every university subject I know has some reading that you've got to do. And you've got to ask yourself, can I read everything? And the answer is an emphatic no. You can't read everything. Okay, so just let me ask you a question in the chat and you can pop your answers in there. I want you to think about this as I'm talking. What type of readings must you be doing? What are the type of readings which are non-negotiable? You have to do. Again, pop your answers in chat and let's see what you've got to, your perspectives on the type of reading you should be doing. Don't be shy. Let's hear a couple, or get a couple of answers from you in the chat box.
Steve, I've just had one come through say recommended readings.
Has that gone straight to you,
Yeah.
Jesse?
I think they've hit the host.
Oh, no worries. Okay. Sorry, Jesse, what was it again?
Recommended readings.
Recommended. Okay. All right. So there are essentially three types, or usually three levels of readings. There's required, there's recommended, and there's further. Okay. Recommended generally fall into the middle category. Okay. So required readings are the readings you must do, that you really have to do them. If you want to engage properly with the program, you need to do the readings which are classified as required. If you want to get extra information and extend yourself a bit, you can do, or you should do, if you can, the recommended reading. So they're level 2. Level 3 is further. Now, level 3 readings are only if you are interested and you really want to know more about it, and only if you have the time. So required, recommended, further, or extra, okay? So that's your sort of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, to use some COVID language. In this case, yeah, tier 1 being required. Okay, Benjamin also says lecture slide materials. Yes, that's the sort of thing you should be reading, okay? The other things you should be reading are things which are connected to assessment, things which are connected directly to your study or are listed in your subject guide as required readings, but directly for assessment, or you've been asked to do them in preparation for a class like a tutorial, okay? So the answer is, can you read everything? No, you can't. Are you expected to read everything? No, you are not expected to read everything, so don't try to. Okay, I've got a assignment which is 1,500 words. My lecturer says in the assignment task brief that we need to have 10 to 15 sources for that paper. Should I be reading 80 to 90 sources to get my 10 to 15? No, Absolutely not. So we sometimes have students in our one-to-one sessions who are very stressed about overreading. So they start reading, and when they find something else, they go there, they find something else, go there, find something else, go there. And before you know it, it's 3 a.m. and you've tried to read multiple texts, okay? So in order to find 10 to 15 assignments for 10 to 15 sources for an assignment, you will not be looking at 80 to 90 to find that. You could probably be looking at 25 to 30 maximum, okay, to get your 10 to 15. Looking at, not entirely reading. And I'm going to talk about that right now, about this strategic process chart of how we use this, okay? All right, so ask yourself some questions, and you've got yes, no answers here, and then you follow the process depending on that. It's like a decision tree, okay? Is the reading for a tutorial? Is it for an assignment? Is it for exam preparation? If the answer is yes, then skim or scan, read it. And by doing that, we're usually reading, if it's a journal article, the abstract, we're reading the headings, we're reading the first part of the introduction, we're reading the conclusion, all right? Read the key bits first. That's your skimming and scanning, all right? Then you ask yourself, is this relevant? Is it useful? If the answer is yes, then you apply your reading strategies to read to the end and make notes as you read. Your reading strategies are things like taking notes, reading actively, circling things if it's a hard copy. If it's electronic copy, you could mark up using Acrobat Reader, okay? And you're not just highlighting. That's just a coloring activity. So be an active reader. Take notes, make notes on the document if you need to, or take notes on your own document. Ask questions of the reading, make notes, things like good definition, use this for the assignment, things like that, okay? If the answer is no, if it's not relevant, if it's not useful, stop reading straight away and find something more relevant to prioritize your time, okay? Okay, so let's keep going. So that thing of stopping reading is crucial, because I had this thing when I was doing my master's, when I first started doing my postgrad work, of thinking I had to read everything to the end once I started it, all right? You don't. So if you do determine this is not a useful reading, it's not good for you to read, you don't need to read it, then stop reading it. Okay. If it's not for a tutorial, assignment, or exam preparation, and you do have the time, ask yourself, is it interesting? If the answer is no, stop reading. If the answer is yes, ask yourself, do I have time to read this? If the answer is no, I don't have time, stop reading it. If the answer is yes, read through to the end and apply the reading strategies again. All right. So again, just to reiterate why we're doing this, this is our decision tree. And we're essentially saying, is it relevant? Is it useful? If it's yes, read it. If it's not relevant, stop reading it. If it's not useful, stop reading it. If it isn't for a tutorial, assignment, or exam preparation, but it is interesting and you do like it and you do have time, yep, read it. If the answer is no to any of those, stop reading. Okay, so what I want to reinforce to you all is this notion of you being a strategic reader at university. You have to be, because this is one of the tension points. This is one of the things which does get people stressed. So you have to manage it, okay? And again, your reading management will be one of the things you're doing in the study sessions I talked about before. Okay, so in one of your study sessions, it might be, I'm going to be reading. You've got to be able to know what the task is. Either find readings, actually read them, or make notes on them and use them for your assignments. Okay. Now, something I did talk about before a little bit when I was answering the question before is on the library homepage, you've got some really key areas, okay? 2 of them I super recommend to you is Recite, which is your referencing management area. If you're using APA or Harvard or Vancouver, whatever your referencing management system, your referencing citation system is, You can find a guide and recite for that. The other one is the one I was answering before, for Benjamin, is around the library guides. And again, if you need me to show you through that, I can show you through that in the Q&A period. Make sure you are using these because they're crucial. Okay, now the other aspect, before I throw this open for Q&A, the other aspect is avoiding procrastination. Now, what we want to do in our study sessions, and procrastination is that thing about putting off. You know, I'll do it in 10 minutes, I'll do it in 1 hour, I'll do it tomorrow. Okay, now, if you're a big procrastinator, if you're someone who keeps putting things off, there's probably no surprise to hear that that correlates with low academic performance. All right, so we don't want to be a procrastinating person. That's why we set up our weekly schedule with our short sessions, our study sessions, our intensive ones, plus breaks. Okay, because in our break time, it's not lazy time, it's recharge time. That's the time when you can get yourself going again, you know, play Candy Crush, go for your walk, go to the beach in the summer, go shopping, play on your mobile phone. But when that break time is finished and your study time is on, that's your job. Remember the attitude of you as professional student. This is your job. So in your study sessions, you switched back on again, all right? So without procrastination, to avoid it, I want you to still set those goals in your study times and give yourself some deadlines. That's with your semester planner. If you want to get the feeling of having things done, complete some easy things first. Okay, take regular breaks, reward yourself in your breaks, particularly if you've done something really good. If you've finished that article, you know, give yourself a little reward with an extra game of Candy Crush. If you've finished the assignment, reward yourself with a nice dinner, you know, that sort of thing. Use relaxation techniques if you like to do those things like meditation, yoga. They can be very helpful for you, exercising. Personally, my thing, I go for a walk with my dog at lunchtime. That's my thing. I love doing that. And avoid distractions. Turn your phone off, right? Shut your bedroom door. Tell mum and dad, I'm studying for 2 hours. Please don't come in. So just try to minimize distraction. That's one of the big things you can do, all right? Now, Academic Skills has a really good website. You can have, you can book individual consultations with us, one-to-one. Most students book them to have a look at a reading. We have workshops like this one. We have them on time management, reading management, oral presentation delivery, academic writing, things like that. And we also have online resources for things like this. We have a whole time management page on our website, okay? Now, I am going to, because we've hit our target, Jesse, of 11:45, in fact, with 1 minute to spare, 11:44. I'm going to throw this open to you guys to ask any questions about anything I've said. I'm more than happy to take you through some more stuff or answer any questions.
Amazing. And look, while they're doing that, Steve, I also want to jump on and say thank you for that, because I found that so valuable. I know when I'm doing my studies, I don't even think about putting in that study time straight after, even just that 15 minutes. But after listening to your presentation, how you do it, I've already gone, oh, that is such a valuable thing to do. If I can at least minimum put that 15 minutes after, yeah, I think that's going to help so much.
It's crucial, Jesse, because a lot of people don't think about it. They sort of go, oh, lecture's finished, I better study. And without thinking, I just need to switch off for 15 minutes. I need to recharge my brain. And it really helps. And again, it's not, I want to stress this because people feel guilty about taking breaks. It's not lazy time. If you can maximize that study time, then the break time is not lazy time. If you're mucking around in the study time and not getting anything done, then break time is lazy time. But, you know, if you can they tend to feed off each other. You have the break and then you're ready. You think, I'm going to study now. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. No, like I said, that is just such an invaluable part, because I've done that exact thing. Finish class, let's go study. Yeah. And then I'll just find the first half an hour, because I haven't given myself, it's so draining. Like, I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, where's the motivation? I just want to go have a break. And so I'll take like 2 minutes to go grab a drink, but I don't give myself enough time. So after 2 minutes, I'm back trying to study and trying to force it. And I'm like, I can't do this. Yep. So no, I love that. That's the first thing I took away. I was like, oh yeah, I should do that. That is such a good point.
Great. I'm glad you said that, because it does highlight to the others too that it's important and it's a good strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a feeling you probably answered everything so well because we don't have any questions coming in, which is great. Was there anything else you wanted to add on that, Steve, before I jump in about the other services?
Sure. I just thought, Benjamin, or any of you, did you want me to show you the database, the specific databases by subject? Do you want to give you an example of that? Would that help you?
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
Sure. Okay. Now let's just jump on to sorry. Give me a moment. I'll just get it set up and we'll. Okay. Can you all see that I'm on the library website?
Yep, you've come up.
Yep. Okay, great. Sorry, I just couldn't hear anyone. Okay, so what you're doing is going to hear library guides. Click on there. And we're looking at guides by subject area. And we're going to click on our subject area and we'll just click on, look, I'll just click on education because I've been there before as an example. Now, let's say, for example, you were studying the Master of Teaching, Early Childhood. I'm just doing this as a random example, okay? This is what I was talking about, Benjamin. This set of tabs here, you're looking at the database tab. Click on database, and here are databases which are geared towards education, right? Not science, not business, not philosophy, education. So we click on our core education databases. This, I'm just going to, again, pick one at random, ProQuest. And it usually asks you to connect in. At that point, you'll be needing your single sign-on, which will be your username and your password. It's going to come up in a moment. This is being deliberately slow because I'm just showing you. It knows I want to show you. It looks like it's transferring me straight in. That's unusual. It usually asks for a single sign-on. Okay, and then it will enter our search terms. Whatever assignment you're studying will determine what your search terms are. But just let me go back again. And again, we're going library guides. Subject area. You will choose your subject area, whether it's law, engineering, business, whatever. If it's architecture, building and planning, it will show us, it should show us a series of subjects. I don't know why that hasn't shown us a series of subjects. That's crazy. Okay, it's taken us straight into the database page and you're looking for the databases. ADP, sorry, seems to set up a little bit differently to most of the other ones, which are generally, as you saw with the education ones, they show you a list of subjects, you choose your subject and you go in. Just let me also point out that it often doesn't matter what subject you go into in the subject area because the databases are the same. As long as they are economics ones or they're business ones or they're philosophy ones or they're education ones, whatever you're studying. Benjamin, is that clear?
Yes, that's very clear. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The other thing, Benjamin, do you use Google Scholar?
No.
No? Does anybody here use Google Scholar?
I use Google Scholar.
You do, Cheyenne? Okay. Do you have you connected at Cheyenne to the UniMelb library?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So just so you all know, when you're using Google Scholar, and again, I'll show you this just so you all know what I'm talking about. Okay. So we'll go to Scholar. Jesse, have we got time for this? This won't take long.
Absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So we'll go to Google Scholar. It's really important for you guys to know this. So we go on to settings and go to library links. Now you see mine is already joined, University of Melbourne Library. What you type is University of Melbourne Library into the search box, okay? And then you'll be joined like I am. And then any searches we do in Google Scholar, let's say education, just as an example, anything which says find it at UniMelb, this one here, you can get that one at UniMelb. Okay, so if you're going to use Google Scholar, go to Settings, Library Links, Connect University of Melbourne Library, and then any of your Google Scholar searches, any of the results which link to Find It at UniMelb, you've got access to them, all right? Never pay for any academic research sources, never. You don't have to, okay? Jesse, that's me, mate. That's it. That's all I've got to say, unless there is anything else.
No, that's perfect. There was a question that did come up, which I might just throw to you, Steve. They've just asked, in the context of online learning, how would you recommend managing time spent online? They've found this particularly difficult with sometimes 13 plus hours of pre-recorded lectures per week alongside online classes.
Great. Yeah, really good question. You may have to, if the lectures are not covered by the online classes, if it's further to the online classes and you're expected to listen to the lectures in your own time, then make them part of your study sessions. Okay, so you probably schedule those study sessions nice and early in the morning where you've switched on, you feel you can listen to the lecture, make notes, and then revise it maybe later in the week. But they could, they could form part of the study sessions you have, all right? The same philosophies still apply. It's going to be 1 to 2 hours before you have your break, but you can slot them into the study sessions there, okay? Does that answer the question, Jesse?
For me, yes. Brianna, if that doesn't answer, please pop on and give us a bit further, but hopefully, yes,
Yeah?
apparently that
Okay.
did answer. Awesome.
Benjamin says, pre-recording lectures for me, 2 hours lecture can sometimes be up to 5 hours for me. Yeah, look, good point, Benjamin. So what I'm going to say to you, Benjamin, is to perhaps do that 3 to 4 or 5 hours across a few study sessions, right? Don't do it in one shot. So you might listen to the first part in a study session, have a break, listen to the next part in a study session, have a break. The other thing which may be stretching you out a bit too long is you could be taking notes on too many things. Try to reduce your note taking as best as you possibly can to the important stuff only. You do not need to take note of everything, okay? It's like the strategic decisions about your reading. You've got to make strategic decisions about your note taking. Okay, I hope that answers your question.
Awesome. Well, look, thank you so much for that, Steve. What I might do is we got another one come through. Is it okay if I'm using the lecture slides for my note taking and just listening to the lecture in the background, particularly for an economic subject?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure. I'm not sure what you mean by in the background. I would have thought you listen to the lecture and have the slides up sort of synchronously, not so much in the background. It's in the foreground with you looking at the notes, right? So if that's what you mean, Cheyenne, then yes. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, what I might do is I might go on to the other services just to let them know what's available. And if there's any other questions that come through, we can definitely catch them at the end. So let me just share my screen again. Hopefully, can you see that on your screen, Steve?
Yes.
Perfect. So just following on, everyone, obviously you've heard from Steve in Academic Skills, which gave some amazing advice and suggestions on how to manage your time. As we said, time management is extremely important for everyone, especially university students who are juggling studies, assignments, personal life, work commitments, and also while we're going through the COVID crisis that we're going through at the moment. So I hope that you've all taken notes. But just a few other services that can help with regards to time management or with regards to supporting you in other areas that might be chewing up a lot of your time and not allowing you to do time management. Things like CAPS, which is our counselling and psychological services. So by all means, you can definitely reach out to them and they can definitely have a chat with you around any support you might need mentally if you're struggling with that. We also have obviously places like the university accommodation, housing services. So especially during COVID, if you're having issues trying to find accommodation, need support with housing, definitely make sure you reach out to them as well. There's also other services like the health service. So if you're needing anything around like telehealth appointments, telehealth appointments or anything around your actual healthcare. They're also able to work with like Bupa and Allianz for our international students. By all means, reach out. Financial aid, if you need support with money and people struggling, there are short-term, long-term loans available. You can also find more info about the financial aid on our previous session, which was on budgeting, and that PowerPoint is up and available. And also reach out to places like Student Equity and Disability. Steve, Student Equity and Disability, I believe, also work in with academic skills where needed as well. Is that right?
Yeah, we often refer to them. And they will also refer to us, as in students who see them, see that group, they'll often say, as part of their suite of recommendations, work with academic skills. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, absolutely. Like we said, definitely reach out to them if you need them. And if they believe that Steve's team will also be of help to you, they'll refer over and vice versa. So they are available. Now, with regards to contacting services, so you can obviously jump on to the Unimel website. You can go through the website and check out all the different services available. You can jump on to the FAQs, or you can join chat online and ask some of the staff through the online chat, or you can give them a call. So you can call them on 136352, which is 13 Mel. Or if you're outside Australia, you can call them on +61 39 035 5511 and have a chat with them, and they can definitely direct you through to the right service or put you in contact with the right people. At the moment, with lockdown, we can't visit the physical campuses because of restrictions, but out of lockdown, there'll obviously be opportunities for you to see the team in person at Stop 1 in Parkville or at Stop 1 at South Bank. So they are there for you. Lastly, to wrap it all up, there haven't been any other questions come through, Steve, so I think you're off the hook. But if you need to reach out to Steve and the team, you can definitely reach out to the academic skills advisors, and I'm hoping these numbers are still correct, Steve, on the 13 Mel, again, 136352.
Probably the email would be best.
Yep, or email like Steve would be best. You can email academic-skills@unimel.edu.au. Again, if today has brought up any touch points, or you're a bit emotional trying to plan everything out or not, can be really stressful, please do reach out to the counselling services. They are available on the details provided, the 038344 6927, or you can email caps-reception@unimel.edu.au. Or if it is after hours and you need that support, as we know it strikes at all different times, you can call the after hours crisis support on 1300 219 459. Or if you don't feel comfortable talking to someone and you'd rather just text someone, you can send them a text on 0480 079 188, and they'll be able to help you across text message. Finally, again, Steve, a massive thank you for coming along and helping today. Like I said, I found it personally invaluable. I'm sure the students have absolutely loved it as well. And we'll definitely make sure that this is available to all students after this. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, thanks for having me. I think this is a great program. So, you know, the Adulting 101 series is really good. And I know we're involved with you in another one in a couple of weeks. So come along to that one, because it's about communication with your academic staff, which is also pretty important to get that right. So good program to put on, Jesse. Thanks for having us and being involved.
Absolutely. We always love having you here. And like Steve said, they are involved again in a couple of weeks for the communication. So if you haven't jumped on and registered for it, it's free. Again, jump onto your student app, register for it, and we'll see you there. But otherwise, for now, that's everything. Have a great day and stay safe. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
See ya. Bye.